different view. So we're going to continue to act in accordance with our view. And now let's see what happens. That's a constitutional crisis.
Deliver vote.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and it's I don't know. it's just going. It seems that every decision is being tailored to reinforce Trump's power, and this along with the immunity decision. It's I don't know. It's like how do we fix this? I don't know. Thanks, Steve.
I did point out that there, and I didn't look this up, but he's a very smart guy, and I should do the research. That there's an old statute on the books that there's supposed to be one Supreme Court justice for every circuit.
Yeah.
And it increased to 9 at a time when the country had increased to 9 different judicial circuits. But now we have more than 9.
We have 13.
So one really good argument, so the argument goes, I haven't done the research myself, is that we should just go up to 13 because that would maintain one justice per. But of course, doing that while Trump is the president and the Senate
does not help us.
The Republicans would not be good for the country. I don't know. Will there ever be reform where we expand the size of the court? I don't know. I hope. We got to do something. I mean, because obviously we now have an entrenched majority that is that's lawless. I mean, that they really reach whatever result they want. When originalism works, originalism's great. When originalism doesn't work, they switch to a different horse. But they always seem to find a quote-unquote principled way to reach exactly the result that politically they favor. It's funny how that works out.
So true. Thanks, Steve, and thanks for the all the stuff. So there's actually I'm like late to the party here. So there is a room called Supreme Court Confidential. Is that what you're doing? Is that what people are talking about?
I forgot.
It's been that way for.
It's like deep state patriots. Is that a room or
a house,
club or a house?
I don't know why I missed that. Okay, because I thought you were just doing it. All right, because feel free to promote it, because as we promote Dr. Fritz.
What I will do is I will go. I discovered now, which I really was not focused on, that there's something called a waiting room.
Yeah.
There are lots and lots of people who are waiting to be members because I guess I have to approve them. So maybe I'll. Yeah.
Well, you can change that. There's a. If you go in, but yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, I wanted to get to Elle and to Marshall, who haven't spoken. Also, I feel guilty because I was about to call Andrew because Andrew has been pretty active in the chat room, putting links in there. And Andrew, if you want to come back and explain yourself, talk about some of the links that you put in the chat, we would love that. Anyway, let's go to Elle and then Marshall, and then if Andrew comes back, that would be great too.
Hi, you guys. I'm mostly focused right now on the vote in the Senate, and I've been just going forward.
That's why I was curious if you could give us an update.
Yeah, no, they haven't finished voting, so I don't know where they're at.
Is that why we can't see them? We see them in a little corner.
Yeah, they're like kind of walking around, and it's really hard to focus on exactly where they're at.
They read the bill, Elle? They read the full?
Yeah, they read the whole bill. They're making speeches right now. It's sort of the debate part. I'm sorry, go ahead, whoever was.
I was going to say, I talked to Duncan last night, and they should start Votorama around 5 East Coast time. And it's predicted to run through to like 2 a.m.
I thought it started already. And the speeches were over, because I can't see. I'm watching C-SPAN now, and it looks like they're just milling around. They're not focusing on any speaker.
Let me look at the text message you sent me. No, you're right. Votorama began this morning, not at 5. I misquoted.
Wow.
Yes, they'll be voting, he said, until about 2 a.m.
Until 2 a.m. Well, this is it, folks. I mean, this is it. This is where we find out if they throw 60 million people or whatever off Medicaid and remove
They will.
lunches for kids. Ugh.
They will.
Yeah.
From reading
It's gonna happen.
reading the thread in there, it looks like something happened here where they're not going to be able to save the SNAP program changes. So I'm able to pick up some things from the thread. I'm going back and forth to the YouTube thread.
Which SNAP changes? Because
Oh, let me tell you that I heard somewhere Lisa Murkowski was able to claw back SNAP funding for her state.
Yeah, that changed though because the parliamentarian decided that it was unparliamentary or
Unless it was for everyone.
yes, so that didn't work for her. She tried, but it didn't work. So anyway, I'm keeping an eye on it, but they don't have any final vote yet.
Go ahead, Marshall.
They shouldn't. They're not going to have a final vote. My brother said till about 2 a.m. His piece of NASA NOAA legislation, it'll probably come up at like 9 or 10 tonight. He's been pushing pretty hard to get some research projects from NASA.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, do you want to, talk about
such an irrational way to make law. I mean, this, like, put aside even the substance. It's like, this is so absurd.
Of course, they're all going to be so exhausted they can't even think. They don't even remember which version of the bill they're voting on. Calling it vote-a-rama is ridiculous. I'm just continue.
That's what the Senate and House call it. They call it vote-a-rama.
Well, that's so stupid because it removes it of all dignity. Oh, never mind. I'm old.
Well, they got rid of dignity a long time ago.
The 2 a.m. voting, that's a lot more normal than you think it is. They will often, to get through fairly tough bills, stay for vote-a-rama until late into the wee hours of the morning. My brother has been there many a time where all you get to do is sit there
and then see if anyone even notices, because they'll all be asleep when the actual bill is passed.
Of course. That's part of the deal. That's the strategy.
Apparently not. Most people are awake and vibrant at that time, or at least the congressmen and senators are. Their staffs get sleepy. That's what my brother tells me.
No, but the population is asleep. I mean, everybody's in bed, and it's like, for something this important, you would want to see in real time who's voting for what, and it's it just seems like a sleazy way to do business.
I don't know.
It's been done that way for a very long period of time. I mean, over 100 years. I wouldn't disagree that it needs to be fixed, but it is not uncommon for the House of Representatives, when deciding on budget bills before they go to the Senate, to stay into the wee hours of the morning. It's far more common than most people think.
And also, frankly, I'd like to know how many people watch C-SPAN, even if it is made available. Not to mention the people most directly impacted by some of these big cuts are probably sleeping or working through the night in 2 jobs. So, this is, definitely should be fixed. But I think, I'm just wondering, this really, I hope the philanthropists in the nation or the entrepreneurs are getting funding to do some stopgap measures to support these families. And I'm wondering how much the state budgets have set aside to support these communities. Because people have seen this coming now for a while. So I'm trying to look into where people have pivoted to try to. Philanthropy can't really ever fill the stopgap of these shortfalls in funding, but there must be some investment in some of these organizations that can pick up some of the slack. But I don't know how it hits the state budgets or how the state. I mean, it's just it's a mess for families on the front line and people on the front line. And also, what's the forward legal strategy, Steve, to push back against any of this?
Sorry. I just wanted to let you know, I was able to ascertain that this is not the final vote. What they're doing is voting on various portions of it right now, trying to get rid of things and keep things and lose things. So this is why this is a long process. It's not the vote. It's not like the final vote for the whole thing. They're voting on sections of it right.
Interesting. So does that mean at the end of this conversation, there will be another day where they discuss the actual finalized version?
Well,
Is that
no,
what the
I
deal is?
think probably Marcia knows probably better than I do if he's
Yeah.
sort of a time frame on it. But I asked him to chat. Several people said this is not the final vote. They're voting on sections of it. So that's what's happening.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrea.
No, I was just in frustration wondering what the legal strategies were that were in play to go back against this, but that maybe is a topic for another day or another Steve room. But I did notice, by the way, during some of the actions on Pride, I saw a flyer that talked about a chant around the longest chant heard across the country that they're trying to organize from July 1st to July 4th. Has anyone heard about this?
No.
I don't know enough about it, and I don't know if I hope. Well, let me check it out before I, work out what.
The only thing I heard is that they are
July 14th, Indivisible March.
That, but also the fact that they're suspending a lot of 4th of July celebrations, especially like in Los Angeles, where they're concerned about violence or rioting or whatever. Which
That's so sad.
Yeah, they should worry about the fact that all of their fireworks are like 80 to 100% more expensive now because of the tariffs. Maybe they'll consider that. Yeah, and also we didn't talk about Canada. I was curious, Barbara, that since Carney has taken down the tariffs for I guess it was for digital services that are coming out of America, I thought that was weird. Because he gave them up instead of saying, pulling a Trump and saying, well, we'll suspend this for 2 weeks while we have a conference. Was there any pushback because he sort of gave up too easily?
Can you hear me okay? I'm driving.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there was definitely pushback and some interpretation around he's putting, kind of the peace, let's collaborate together, being friendly type thing, right? That's his intention. So I think there's a strategy behind it, but certainly it's a bit of a shocker for many Canadians going, what? Because it's so opposite as to our, local premier in Ontario, who is completely standing up against it, So, Andrew, I'm sure is Andrew still in the room?
He's down below. That's why I wanted Andrew to come back up.
Invite him back up. I'm sure he has a lot of insight into it. But in my world, it's a bit of a shocker that that's happening. And then others do say, well, I think he's being strategic. So who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird. I had that same sense that you did, which was, I understand he's kissing his ass because that's the strategy people do. But at the same time, why did he have to do that? I think he would have been fine to say that this is what we're going to do. If you misbehave. Yeah.
Very, very strange.
Anyway, thanks, Barbara. All right, so we are into closing comment pearls of wisdom. So, Barbara, did you have any closing comments while we got you here?
Well, you probably noticed I'm a little calmer, and I don't even know why. I don't know if it's just exhaustion, resignation, or what, but I just so feel for LA, Sue. I don't even know if we can do anything. If you have any recommendations in terms of what all of us can do to empower or support LA. Any thoughts from you? I would love to hear. Yeah.
Good idea. Sue, closing comments, pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate that, Barbara. One thing I would really appreciate is that people spread the word that it's not violence out here. People are not going out and celebrating because we're in fear of ICE raids. We're in fear that people are going to be swept up illegally when they're illegal. And I'm going to give you an example. Since I've been on with you guys, I don't want to say too much, but I have a neighbor who uses a cleaning crew, and I actually had to watch them go in covertly right now, out of fear. So while they were doing that, I received a text on a local group that I'm in saying that ICE has been spotted. This is the way we are now living. It's a police state. So I just, other than keeping good thoughts for us and staying positive, letting people know we are not violent here. We're trying to be as peaceful as we can and stay under the radar, even those of us that are legal. So that's all I can say. Thanks.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, good advice. I agree.
Do you guys know they're not legally required to, they can dress up in masks, and they don't have to display their badges, and they don't even have to reveal the content of the administrative warrant to anybody who is not the subject of the administrative warrant. I just thought people would find that interesting.
Marshall, they're not displaying anything to anybody. Let me be very clear with you. They are showing no one anything, not even a real badge. So
they don't legally have to.
But that doesn't sound right to me.
The point is,
and I would think there's state laws where they do have those requirements.
Anybody.
So I don't know. Why don't we ask Steve?
That's a good idea. Let's ask Steve. He knows way more about this than either of us.
Yeah,
no,
Steve.
I don't. I don't know the laws that apply to them. But here's what I do know: whether